Hey facilitators, Meg Bolger here. I was speaking with a card-carrying facilitator last week who let me know that she was not always able to have her facilitator cards with her even when she wanted to be using them. She works with teachers who teach youth who are in the juvenile justice system and sometimes goes into facilities that will not allow her to bring anything but her phone in. And I was thinking about how can I set it up so that a facilitator can manipulate their cards, like move them around, organize an agenda, use them for planning purposes when they aren't able to have their cards with them. Not just this facilitator, but all of us, whether that's because we've forgotten our cards or they're just not with us when we want to do some planning. And I have figured out a way to do it with Airtable. And so I'm going to show you that now. You will need a free Airtable account to do what I'm about to show you, but you can do it entirely with a free account. I will leave a link below where you can sign up. If you would like to use our link, you can do that. And if you don't want to, you can use any link and you'll get signed up. And I will also leave a link below to the Airtable that I'm about to show you, where you can get all of the information about your facilitator cards, but in a new and interesting way. So let's hop over to Airtable and see what it looks like. So here we have all 60 cards in your deck of facilitator cards organized by color or category. So the emotion cards, the ideation cards, clarification, and execution. All the information that's on your facilitator cards is also here with the explanation right here so that you can read that. There's also what it's for, group size, props, and the URL that takes you straight to that cards page on our website. So when you land on this page, what you're going to do is you're going to go up here to use this data. And when you click that, it's going to basically make this data happen in your Airtable. So you will need to sign up for Airtable before you click that button. And then you can go ahead and choose a workspace and create a new base. That's going to allow you to create a base entirely from scratch for the facilitator cards. So go ahead, click those two buttons, and it will transfer all of this information over to a brand new base in your Airtable, which is really awesome. When you're over there, it is going to move things around a bit so you can kind of clean up the columns if you want, or you're like me and you really like them to be as small as possible. And also you lose that grouping. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here to group and 4, and now it's going to pop right back. So we've got them in the right order. And I'm going to rename this view to be my main view. So few things that you can do. This might be enough for you if you're like, all I want is to be able to see the facilitator cards in a spreadsheet, be able to group them, or maybe even, so you can group them by the emotion category, by the 4 categories, so like emotion, ideation, or you could group them with other things. So if you were like, I'd really like to group them by group size because I want an individual activity, you could do that. Or if you're like, I really would like to see what cards I can use that are just no props. I have no props and I just want to see the cards with no props. You can group them by props and see all the cards that have no props. So that might be enough for you. But there's a couple other things I wanted to show you that is possible. One thing that I really like to do with facilitator cards is kind of have a pile that I'm working on when I'm setting up a facilitation. So if I've got a facilitation coming up, I'll kind of separate the cards into a pile of cards I'm thinking about using and cards that I want to leave aside for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and use this column with this little check mark to make a little consideration pile, a little maybe pile for myself. So I'm going to go ahead and click 3 cards from each category. And then in order to see this maybe pile, I'm going to create a new view. So I'm going to go over here and call this my maybe pile. And what I need to do is I need to filter for all the cards that have a check mark. And now I've got my 12 cards that are in my maybe pile, and I'm able to see them here And that's really, really helpful. So usually I'll go from a maybe pile to kind of a final agenda pile. So let's say I've got 6 cards that I actually want to move over into this final agenda. I'm going to go ahead and use this agenda column. And rather than make another grid view, kind of seeing everything as a spreadsheet, I want to see it as actual cards, right? Like we're used to with facilitator cards, being able to see them and move them around as cards. So I'm going to create a gallery view and call this my agenda view. And again, I want to filter by agenda is checked. Okay, so now I have my 6 cards that I'm working with for my final agenda. This isn't showing me exactly the information I want, so I'm going to come up here to customize cards. I don't need to know that they are checked off, but I would like to see the group size and the props. Okay, perfect. So now what I can do is I can actually move them around. So maybe we want to do Venn diagrams after counterfactuals, and maybe we want to generate a list before we fill in the gap. Okay, so now that I have my agenda, that looks really great. And I actually this is a really cool way to see your facilitator cards. And obviously if the explanation cuts off, just click it to open it and you'll be able to see the full explanation. So if you're jazzed on this and you're like, well, I want to be able to see, I love that I have this agenda, but sometimes you're planning more than one thing at a time. So maybe you want to be able to break it down more specifically. What I would do is I've added another column in here saying upcoming facilitations. And right now it's labeled kind of generically next week, next month. I would probably do something like November 6th and November 10th. And remember, because this is in your Airtable, you can do whatever you want with it. You can add new columns, you can take away columns that you're not going to use. You get to customize it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And maybe the agenda ones that I have currently, we're going to group this not by that. We're going to group this by agenda so I can see all the ones that are agenda or not. So maybe this is my agenda for my November 6th session. And maybe I'm going to use these ones just as an example for my November 10th session. Okay, so I've got 2 different agendas that I want to be able to see. And so I can just create those right here with some more views. So we've got November 6th, filter for November 6th. And then another quick shortcut I like, if you duplicate the view, if it has a really similar set of conditions, it saves you a couple clicks. And instead of November 6th, I'm just going to turn on November 10th. Okay, so now I've got both of those agendas and I'm able to see them really quickly and save them for forever so I can know what I did on those dates. And even if I want to get rid of the views, they will still be saved right here in my column in my main view, because all the views are just the same information, just shared different ways. So I think this is a really cool and powerful way to see your facilitator cards in a new way, manipulate them, be able to work with them on your phone or on your computer without having to have your cards nearby. And I hope that helps and is kind of a new way and another way to interact with that information that you already know and hopefully love. So let us know if there's anything else that you need help with or any other scenarios that you're running into that you want to be able to use your facilitator cards in and can't figure out how to do that. You can contact us anytime. Our email is right on the side of your box, hello@facilitator.cards. So please give us a shout anytime you run into any questions. And until next time, everyone, best of luck getting set up your Airtable. I hope you find new and creative ways to use it. And until we cross paths again, happy facilitating.